down every house.
He's every man. Scared, out of his mind, petrified, and beautiful. This person that we most want to love, we most want to find ourselves in it, and we can relate to him in so many different ways. Everyone has felt vengeful, has felt lonely, has felt love, has felt these things, these powerful, universal things, all encompassed in this one organ, Hamlet. And that is why he's carried on. And when people first saw this, they knew that. I'm sure they did. How else could it have come so far if it did not relate to us on this universal level in so many different themes and in so many different ways than by speaking to us that way? And Shakespeare was really a genius in that. He knew that everyone is one thing and completely the opposite at the same time.
Do thy work! Oh, defend me, friends! I am but hurt!
It is, in a word, honest.
Everyone's working. It's obvious you worked. That's the best stumble through I've seen in years. That was great.
I want them to be not changed, but realize that they have changed. Because Hamlet is very much a revolution.
My background as an actor. Well, I acted in 2nd grade as a bird in a butterfly play. Yeah. It was okay. It wasn't actual, like, motivation. What does your characters want to do? No, it was just a bunch of 2nd graders acting like birds. And the skunk spray, one scene broke. Everyone started laughing. It wasn't very serious. In 3rd grade, I sort of acted in a 3rd grade play, because it was in 3rd grade. You'd expect that from a 3rd grade play. As a pig, and as the frog from The Princess and the Frog Story. And 4th grade, very briefly, it wasn't really even a play. We were reading a play about John Henry, you know, The Hammer, Johnny Cash song. It's very moving. I like that song. It's excessively long, though. 6 minutes. It's probably not actually that long. I'm just complaining too much. Anyways, the play I read for the guy who invents the steam engine, and I did pretty good, I think. My 4th grade teacher said I should be an actor when I grew up. After we were done reading it through. Not very. I didn't really. It wasn't. I don't think there was really acting things. I really got into acting in high school when I went to Inspire sophomore year. I tried to get into You Can't Take It With You, but I missed too many rehearsals. They kicked me out and had Marcus replace me. But I did learn about auditions and rehearsals after that. And I did act very briefly in As You Like It and White Christmas, even though I had short acting bits, or they were rather short. And in my theater classes, I think those really helped me a lot too. Especially in theater too, when I learned about commedia dell'arte. That was great. I liked learning. That was my favorite part. I loved just every week acting different things. That was a lot of fun. And it's basically all caught up to Hamlet and Cinderella. The top concern for me now is just remembering my lines and giving them off at the right time and going off at the right cues. Because I sort of got it, but I've been kind of busy the last few days and haven't really gone over as much as I should, so I'm a little, like, 80% there. It's just sometimes I miss my cues, so that's just my main concern. Meeting the cues and then saying the right lines and articulating them well. Because sometimes when I'm nervous and I'm trying to think of my line frantically, I speed things up a little bit, or I slur. So that's basically my my only concern, because the acting part sort of goes with it after you memorize it, I think, at least for me. You memorize the lines, it's easier to act. I don't know if I'm that phased about it. I'm kind of used to being busy a lot because I'm involved in a lot of organizations. It's just the sleep. I just miss the sleep. But I mostly just deal with it, but just dealing with it, going into it every day. But I haven't really gotten into Hell Week, so I'm sure I'm gonna meet that part of me whenever I get really, really broken. Should be fun to look forward to. But for the moment, I just sort of deal with it by treating it like a regular job. Most plays are Polonius kind of creepy, since he spies on people all the time, and I sort of give it more of a comical, well, not really more, just a comical approach, because Hamlet needs comic relief. It's just so many people die, it's just so sad, and after the Act 1, it just gets worse. So it needs some sort of humor, which comes in the form of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, Osric and Polonius. Briefly, Polonius. Polonius is more humorous and serious. And I try to be serious and chiding when I'm doing my scene with Ophelia. And when I'm doing my Laertes scene, I try to be teaching him about the precepts, because that's a very famous line. Neither Rabarbo nor Linderby. People like to hear that. I hope so. So I try to give it a comical approach when it's needed, such as when I'm with Hamlet, and when I'm doing my asides to the audience, and then when I'm talking to the Queen and the King. Because those parts, I believe, are meant to be comical, meant to be some sort of comic relief from all the grief and anguish, and I try to get that across.
Now we know how many holes it takes to fill the Albert Hall.
If I fell into the play Hamlet and met Polonius, I would probably tell him to stop being so controlling over his daughter and being mean to her and being nicer to Laertes. Treat them equally or more towards Ophelia, because Laertes is kind of a cocky guy. I'd also try to tell him that Claudius probably isn't the best person to work with. You might not realize it, but he killed his brother and married his wife, so you probably should look into your job ventures a little more carefully. Get that resume out and probably find a different job, because things are going to get real bloody really soon. So, just a little heads up. Also, don't lock your daughter away from Hamlet. Things don't get better when that happens, Polonius. You doofus of a man. Well, I don't want them to feel sad, but they probably are going to feel sad, because it's a very sad ending. Because Hamlet died. He would have been a great king. He never had the chance to rule the throne. And he was killed before he had the chance. So many things didn't turn out right for him. It's just a very sad tale, I think. Whenever I think about it, I just get sad. Because he never had the chance. He never had the chance to lead or any of that. But what I think I'd like them to think is, it was a good show. I like those actors that did it. But I think from play perspective, I think it's a shame.
It's been hard for sure. I've set aside time where I need to just get back to who I am and get in touch with myself, rather than because I've spent a lot of time in rehearsal, which has been kind of crazy with homework and all of that. So I have to set aside some time where I can really get back into myself and refocus on important things.
Now listen, and listen good. All you can eat is all you can eat. Don't go over the limit, boys and girls. Don't want to give yourself ulcers nor stomach.
As an actor, my background is kind of not as in-depth as I'm sure some of my other fellow actors are. I grew up in Paradise, just north of Chico. It's a lot of a sports town rather than like a theater and acting town, so there aren't a lot of opportunities to get into theater. But I was very blessed to have people like Ruth Greenfield and Jeff Childs to come up and work with me at my school, which was really great. So I did very few productions. In middle school age, I did maybe 3-ish, like one per year. But as soon as I got to Inspire, I started to really, really enjoy the acting and got into the productions.
Longer. Not when I saw it.
His beard was grizzled, no?
It was, because I had seen it in his life. A sable silver. Wait, a sable silver.
Alex and I decided as characters that they did know each other as children and that they had that deeper relationship as playing with each other or developing these games with each other, and not just the college relationship that they have at Wittenberg.
Raise your heart to forget myself! Oh, life.
But that is a contributing factor. So, at the beginning of the play, he comes in onto the guards who are telling him of the ghost. He hasn't seen the ghost as of yet, but he hasn't seen Hamlet either. So he re-enters to tell Hamlet of the news. And this is a beautiful thing because it's a reuniting of two characters, but it even develops into a further relationship, one of trust, and when he relays this information onto him, and he goes with him. And from that point on, he's by Hamlet's side for a lot of the play, even if it's non-speaking lines like the graveyard scene. He's there and he's encouraging Hamlet and being an ear of logic, and it all comes down into the end where he eventually takes the position once Hamlet says, "Now that I am passing on, you must take and tell my story unto Denmark." And he basically assumes the position of storyteller and more deep in the grand scheme of Denmark.
The cat will mew. The dog will have his day.
I've worked a lot on relating to myself as a friend. So to Hamlet and to other people, I've drawn from those experiences in that loyalty and what I seek from a friend. Because Horatio himself is supposed to be a comfort to the audience. He wants, I imagine Shakespeare wrote him as something to ground the play, because all of the other characters have a lot of flaws and are on the brink of disaster throughout the play. And though Horatio does have his flaws, he is there as a grounding element who speaks less in passion than in logic and in an attempt to help. So, but as the play grows further, he becomes more on edge, and at the end, he's full of grief when Hamlet dies. So I was actually working on it last night. I was analyzing what I feel physically, actually, rather than mentally when I'm experiencing grief or sadness or anger or anything of that nature. I analyze it so I can portray it out to the audience better, and so I can believe it more. So if I physically feel it, I can feel the grief, I can feel the anger in myself. And I pinpointed, like, in grief you really can feel it in your chest. It feels as if either someone's pressing down on your chest or ripping something out of you. So you have to feel that in your diaphragm and in your chest. Or with fear, your breath becomes more scant, so you start to feel it in your sinuses. And that's a contributing factor to portraying it to the audience and even to yourself, so you can believe it.
One thing that drives me nuts the whole time, because it's such beautiful work going on up here. Do you know what I'm gonna say?
Is it slashing?
No.
Okay.
And it drains your face. So it's like these nervous habits that we have take away from what we're doing here and feeling here.
Okay, I was trying to do a little bit of movement to show stress, but just solid.
We know it's stressful, I think. Yeah, and because it's I would say it would be fine in any other scene, but because it's the end of the play.
We want it to be bam, bam.
I want people to only look at your face.
I feel you.
His pursuits towards friendship and loyalty are very noble. It's not a, so to speak, I'm going to do this, as Hamlet would be, or as Claudius would be, or even Laertes, who has at least some sort of agenda once coming back from France or whatnot. But as Horatio, he is very loyal to his friends. He picks his friends and he sticks with them. And I think that's a very beautiful thing to do.
Now cracks a noble heart. Good night, sweet prince. And flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Great. Hey, I'm emailing these notes right now. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody stay put for a minute.
And JP just makes this. It was just like the pressure right there.
Okay, thank you.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. Horatio.
Yes.
You're still anticipating the action of the play.
Can you give me an instance?
Yes, I want to give you an example.
Wonderful.
Hamlet, come up here. Horatio, come up here. Go to that little bit right before you're like, come go with me to the king. It's right after you see your father's ghost. You're over here. You're over here.
Okay.
It's going to be a really great show. However, we have a lot of work to do in between now and Thursday. So, let's get this going.
Is it, wait,
Oh, it's like when we were about to swear.
oh, so we're down here?
I don't remember. But anyway, so
The Miso goes to that comes to tell of this.
where's the part where you shake hands?
And so good friends.
Without earlier. Without our circumstance at all, I hold it fit that we shake hands in
Okay,
the
can you do that
Before
part?
that.
Just right before?
Before that. We noticed.
Just leading up to the handshake. That's all I want to see.
Wait, there's never really going to all the dark. He's in error today.
My lord, there needs no ghost come from the grave to tell us this.
You are on the right, and so without our circumstance at all.
Okay, well you didn't do it right now.
It's because I'm working. That's why I get paid the big bucks.
So everyone needs to get on Facebook and social media and be obnoxious. Text everyone in your entire phone book. Like your entire phone book. In your phone. Come to Hamlet. You have a phenomenal show. You need an audience. Word of mouth is the #1 way to fill the seats.
Also guilt.
When Hamlet crosses this way, don't anticipate the handshake. Like you stuck your hand out. And that's just a general example.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you're giving him too much credit. Like, you don't know what's going on. Every night you do this, you need to be surprised by
same
It's more
language.
like, right now you're like this. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. You need to be more. Okay, are we doing that now? Oh my gosh, so yeah?
Yes, of course not.
This is time. And don't just like, just keep her shaking when she offers. Okay, good. Sounds good. Aiden, can you push That goes for everybody. You don't know what's going to happen. You need to remind yourself that you need to be in the moment of the scene. Don't anticipate your action. Of course you know what your action is because we've rehearsed it, but good actors make it seem like it's just happening, like right now. That's the reason why it's called live theater. That's why it's alive. That's why people go. Thank you. You're welcome.
I'd love it if they saw their own ghosts, if they were harrowed up with fear and wonder just as Horatio was.
To be or not to be.
Hamlet comes full circle, just as everyone else does. Honestly, I want them to take away some kind of universal truth. Some acknowledgement of this. Because we all live, we just don't often realize it. And what Hamlet does for the entire duration of the 3 hours is live for people.
Two solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. Oh God.
He's living for them, and he's living for himself, and he questions what it is to be a human, at least on 3-4 different accounts, on what it is to be a human, to actually be a hunk of flesh capable of so much and so little at the same time. And I don't know, I want people to see that. I want people to take a second to debrief after seeing 3 hours of emotional turmoil, to look at themselves, as I think that's how theater should be, is after you see theater, that universal thing, that portrayal of these same hunks of meat being other hunks of meat living. I want them to see something like that. I want them to take away something they didn't see before, out of human existence, out of something they had maybe seen earlier but had forgotten to think about. What it is to be living, to be scared out of your mind. It's recalling your own experience in relation to this show. I want them to see that.
We pray you throw to earth this unprevailing woe and think of us as of a father. To my Lord it comes.
Angels of Misters and Grace defense.
Please come to the office. Sierra Ruth, please come to the office.
Honestly, I never thought I would get a first chance to play this role, which I did in 7th grade alongside you. And ever since I'd heard the story of Hamlet, my dad used to tell it to me at least once a week in the car when we were driving to school. I loved the story since I can remember. And preparing for the role, ever since I heard we were going to be doing it in 7th grade, I told myself, I have to play this role. I have to. I know this. I know this story, and I know this character. And I was like 11, and I was so sure I knew everything about it. But I didn't. And so when I performed it, I knew that I didn't, and I didn't fully encompass anything. So when I heard that we were going to be doing it again, and I'd be getting a second chance to do this, I was preparing from the moment I heard that. I knew It was time to step it up and to do everything in my power to encompass it this time, because I don't think there's a third chance for such an opportunity. There is no theater without an audience. It's empty. When Hamlet was first written, I mean, again, it was a very contemporary play. It was the modern man on stage. It was actually Shakespeare's, you could argue, his very first psychological, well, the very first psychological realistic drama, because Hamlet is so invested in the audience. All of the soliloquies are to the audience. At the very end, you that look pale and tremble at this chance, that are but mutes or audience to this act, the show. It's telling the audience to take something away from this. It is demanding the attention of the audience to carry this story on. And that is why it is the most interpreted of Shakespeare's plays, the most popular, is because the audience has to take something away from it. They are commanded to. On a whole new level. I mean, Shakespeare, of course, with his comedies, with his other tragedies, Othello and Much Ado About Nothing, two very contrasting plays, they still are preserved, but they are not as produced or as well known or taught as Hamlet, because there's something so different. That's the thing. That's why playing Hamlet, it really is daunting, because you realize everyone is here to see how you speak, to see what you have to say and how you'll say it differently than how they've heard it, because they've heard it before. They've lived what Hamlet is saying. So long? Well, let the devil wear black and olive, a suit of singles. Died 2 months ago and not forgotten yet. Well, there's little help to the man. Strictly speaking from the text. And from what I've discovered personally, when you act as Hamlet, it's a lot different than from looking at it from a scholarly context or pursuit. It just is. You go on this completely different emotional observation of what the text means to you rather than to the story as a whole. It really is one of the most passionate love affairs in all of Shakespeare. You can argue, Romeo and Juliet or Antony and Cleopatra, but when he sees Ophelia, when he hears that she is dead in that graveyard, whose funeral is this? He soon realizes that when it's Ophelia's, the way he reacts, what you can derive from the text, let alone in a performance, in any performance you see of this, it is one of the most impassioned scenes in this entire show. I loved Ophelia. 40,000 brothers could not with all their love make up my sum. Hamlet, when he sees this, again, this is just another thing happening to him. It's not just another thing happening to him. This is a big thing. This is one big, very big thing. His father is dead. Now Ophelia is dead. He's killed Polonius. Everyone is dying around him. There's this graveyard. Elsinore is not just a prison in the text. It is a graveyard filled with corpses of people that he has killed, that he has indirectly or directly killed. And now Ophelia, this is someone that he loved, that maybe in the back of his mind, even when we are in a relationship that maybe one that we know is doomed, you still have that brief moment in your head where you think, this could happen. Just even for a moment, this could be something. Again, it's beautiful, the passion that they share, although it is not realistic in its future possibilities, but for what they mean to each other as young people in that moment when everyone is so cruel and senseless about what passion is. They're the only ones that understand each other and what that means to each other. And then they can't. They can't. In this short time, we can't even look at each other without knowing the replications of what will happen, the fardels, reformation, yeah. These fardels, these slings and arrows. Hamlet gives to be or not to be seconds before he sees her. And she sees that speech. She's present for that. And that's what's really beautiful about it. And it is poetic, but it's poetic in its brief passion and how it encompasses that state in a relationship, that doomed feeling, but that this beautiful oxymoron, that doomed beauty.
With me, with 2 provincial roses on my raised shoes. Get me a fellowship in a choir player, sir.
Half a share!
Hamlet's relationship to Horatio is... it's quite profound, really. Hamlet, to everyone else, has felt betrayed by them, by Ophelia for not allowing him access to her, this who he thought was his only anchor in the world. Gertrude for marrying his uncle later. He finds out his father's murderer. His father for dying and expecting so much of him when he's just out of college. Claudius, of course, for killing his father. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern for lying to him through their teeth, knowingly, and not coming to him aside saying, we know what's up. Polonius for being the one to control Ophelia. Everyone has abused Hamlet in some way, except Horatio. There's this beautiful speech, and I wish that we kept it in the show, but alas, we did not. But Hamlet says to Horatio, give me that man that is not passion's slave, and I will wear him in my heart of hearts, aye, in my heart's core, as I do thee. As I do thee.
Oh, is this the 3 words
This
one?
is the 3 words.
I was trying to think of it, but I don't know. I'll think. I'll in the moment. Here we go.
Petrifying.
Sad.
Passionate.
Suspenseful.
Senseless.
Okay, got it. We're good. Okay.
Inspiring.
Heartbreaking.
Well, actually, not inspiring.
And thought-provoking.
Thoughtful.
For lack of a better word, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this. I can't wait to see it, and
Can't wait to see yours.
I can't wait to see it either.
Will you sing the Johnny Cash song for me?
I don't know the actual lyrics, but I know the John Henry with his hammer. I'm making up the lyrics because I don't remember. John Henry with his hammer hitting upon the ground. He said, "What? Can you hit that hammer upon the railroad track? I can shovel the dirt with his hammer." And then saw a machine. I'm skipping a lot. I'm skipping so much. They saw a machine and it said, can a machine enjoy a baked bean meal? Can a machine recite a play? Men get paid money for doing work, not machines. So he went right away.
That's also it's another thing in Shakespeare, how many skin diseases he likes to say. That's pretty cool.
And then John Henry died. Gave his hammer, no, before he died, he gave his hammer to his son and said, "Son, take this hammer." I didn't want to. Take this hammer. You tell, whenever someone goes up to you and says, "I want you to make a railroad across America," you say, "I can dug a shovel. I can pick an axe. I can pick a shovel too. That's what a man's gotta do." End.